Welcome visitor, my name is Declan and I'm pleased to offer you the fifth part of the WoW Plays Diary. The Dark Portal is one of the Azeroth's most iconic spots. It is the gateway the Orcs used to invade from Draenor, starting the First War and changing history of the world. Because I remember the stories from the original Warcraft games, I couldn't just rush through its pulsing green arc when I arrived in the Blasted Lands. After hit level 58 in late July, I immediately went straight here. Flying wasn't yet possible in the old world, so dismounting from my ram, I slowly walked toward the Dark Portal, taking a few screenshots against its backdrop. It might sound silly, but passing through that portal felt like the first page of the second chapter. And of course, I already read about the Hellfire Peninsula, Shattrath and the Black Temple, and back in March I saw a play with warglaives of Azeroth on his back. On the other side I found a landscape of red mountains and plains steaming with burning legion demons. I immediately headed to Shattrath, Outland's main city. There I was staring at level 70 players on flying mounts, something I'd never seen before. After that I got back to a familiar routine of questing and killing local monsters. Disappointingly, the quests in Outland felt much like the old ones, mostly kill this and fetch that, with only occasional story quests. The good news was the experience came very fast, at least until level 60. At that point I bought a fast epic mount, which was much better than my level 40 ones. This extra speed really helped me running through dangerous areas. After level 60 though, level felt like a real grind. While I liked most of the original game world, Outland felt completely different. Only the Nagrand zone really clicked with me. Everything else seemed odd. The zone designs, the colors and even the stories. The expansion felt strange with its spaceships, weird mix of tech and magic, the crashed Exodus ship, the Burning Legion using both advanced and simple weapons. To top it all, there was a major story change, a retcon. The history of the evil Eredar leaders was rewritten, which is how the Alliance got the Draenei race. In principle, it turned out more or less harmoniously, but almost classic high fantasy with touch of Warcraft steampunk. Well, now that was thickly mixed with something closer to science fiction. I'll admit I didn't delve too deeply into the plot of the time. Firstly, it was rather convoluted. Much like the quests in the old world, they provided pieces of the puzzle that you had to work hard to put together. Secondly, there were only 3 months left before the release of the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, and at that time I wanted to reach level cap and get to the current Karajan. At the same time, leveling after 60 became considerably slower. With my limited gaming time, I could only manage 1 or maybe 2 levels a week. In other words, I barely had enough time. In the summer of 208, hardcore players were busy raiding Sunwell, while those of us who were more casual players, or those who weren't on vacation, were either banging our heads against Zulaman or leveling up our alts. But both groups were united in waiting for the same thing, the release of the second expansion for World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King. The beta test was in full swing, and the internet was overflowing with screenshots of icy landscapes of Northrend. More and more information about the new features and changes was trickling out from official sources. Perhaps the most talked about topic of this period was the achievement system. Yes, those same notorious achievements that are now so integral to World of Warcraft. Yes, that's the way it is now, but back then the idea of complete a task, get 10 points largely met with a bewildered LOL reaction. The developers also mentioned that they would be adding titles and mounts. And epics? The community endured. No, for epics you have to raid, was the reply. Okay, said the community, and then collectively held their breath. At the time has proven Blizzard knew exactly what they were doing. One of the key aspects of any MMO is social status, which is primarily determined by how good you are at the game. But that success needs to be measurable and visible to others. Back in the days of Vanilla and the Burning Crusade, having raid sets and legendary items was the main indicator of the success. The achievement system streamlined and broadened these signs of status. Most importantly, it gave players clear goals and were solidly tied to raid progression. In my opinion, that was a key factor of the casualization of the game. For the raiders, the fate of Naxxramas became a hot topic. One of the hottest raids in Vanilla WoW had only been experienced by a teeny number of players at the time. According to the unconfirmed estimates, that was about 1% of the entire subscriber base. Even during the Burning Crusade era, the instance demanded a good knowledge of tactics and a large party of 20 or, more well-geared teammates. And yet people continued to run it, not least for the legendary stuff on Medivh, ATH. Developers' decision to make Naxx in form relevant to Wrath of the Lich King sparked another wave of confusion. So Naxx 40 was transformed to Naxx 10-25. ATH and Tier 3 raid set were removed from the game forever. Having flown from the Plaguelands to Northrend, Naxx 40 went from being an impossible raid into a sandbox for beginner casual raiders. Path 3.0.2 Echoes of Doom. The Wrath of the Lich King pre-path Echoes of Doom arrived a month before the actual expansion, launched on October 14. Its main highlights included the much-anticipated achievement system, the new profession inscription, barber shop where you could change your hairstyle, talent trees with the number of points increased to 51. A slightly modernized character parameter system. In terms of content, the completion of the port of Stormwind was a major landmark. The Alliance capital grew by about a third. New routes opened up from the port, including new ones to Northrend. Naxxramas, meanwhile, took flight to the north, and during their move, Necropolis staff managed to lose all the Tier 3 raid set pieces and the wreckage of legendary stuff. Following Naxx, Dalaran also soared to Northrend, destined to be a natural capital for the next 2 years. For hardcore raiders, this patch will be remembered for another reason. It subjected all Burning Crusade raid encounters to a global nerf. Their health they reduced significantly, by 30%, as well as the amount of damage they dealt. Some hardcores viewed this as a disaster, believing that the path had ruined Burning Crusade PvE. Well, yeah, that was a month before completely new content was going to be delivered. But the changes weren't limited to just the raid bosses. The quest to access Onyxia Lair was also removed, and for those of us who were still working our way up, the amount of experience needed to reach new levels was reduced by a welcome 20%. Personally, I saw this as a good news, as it brought the damn level 70 much closer. The user interface also underwent some key changes. First, a guild calendar appeared. Second, mounts and pets no longer took up precious place in our bags or bank slots. Instead, they were received their own special tab in the calendar menu. Key were also given their own separate tab. What else made Echoes of Doom so memorable? Of course, the zombie invasion. Brains! This world event was similar to what we already seen in Path 1.11 when Naxxramas came out. Flying necropolises appeared across Azeroth, unleashing hordes of undead. Zombie Invasion 2.0 was quite spectacular. Zombies could and should be killed, and the shots they dropped could be used to buy all sorts of useful goodies, including low-level epics. But the most interesting part was that the Scourge also brought a contagious infection that affected both players and NPCs. If infected, you had to find a healer, either an NPC or player who could dispel the infection, within 10 minutes. If you didn't, you transformed into a zombie, gaining interesting abilities such as ability to infect others and ability to explode. For a couple of weeks, capitals were periodically transformed into zombie-ridden graveyards as griefers became kamikaze zombies, blowing themselves up in crowded areas, disrupting auctions, vendor transactions, and quest turn-ins, and in general, it was a chaotic fun. It might seem odd, but the chaotic fun didn't please me much because it often slowed down the leveling process. I remember stumbling upon the complete mayhem in an iron forge. The auction house and the throne room were literally littered with bones. To be on the safe side, I flew to Nagrand and reduced my visits to capitals to a minimum. Oh, and I almost forgot. A path, Echoes of Doom, also brought shadows to Azeroth.